Have you ever truly stopped to wonder, not just casually, but deeply, profoundly, from the quiet place inside you, whether life is really just happening to you, or whether it's responding to something far more intimate within you? Most people live as if reality is a fixed screen, a stage set with props and events they must endure or survive. They wake up inside a world they believe is outside of them, forgetting that their very gaze, their focus, their emotional tone is shaping the meaning of what they see. But what if this is the grand illusion? What if life is not a linear line from A to B, but a circular mirror reflecting what you're being, not what you're doing? Perhaps the challenges you face, the repeating patterns, the so-called coincidences, are not random accidents, but echoes of your own attention reverberating through space and time. When you believe you're unlucky, your attention will search for evidence of that. When you feel invisible, your mind will find situations to confirm that feeling. This is not punishment. This is the precision of perception. The universe responds not to your wishes, but to your frequency. And your frequency is shaped by what you habitually focus on. Think about it. Two people walk into the same room. One sees judgment, the other sees possibility. Same room, same people, different experience. Why? Because they each carry a different lens, and that lens becomes the filter through which reality reflects. The mirror never lies, but it does reflect the internal truths you carry, whether you're aware of them or not. This is the first awakening. To realize that what you call the world is actually an echo chamber of your dominant thoughts, your subconscious beliefs, your repeated feelings. If you walk through life believing that you're not enough, the mirror of reality will offer you situations that appear to prove you right. Not because it's cruel, but because it's neutral, reflecting you back to yourself so you can choose again. This is the difference between reaction and creation. When you live unconsciously, life feels like reaction. When you awaken, it becomes creation. You begin to see that your internal state is not separate from your external results. The two are deeply entangled, like a dance where the steps of thought, emotion, and attention guide the rhythm of the world around you. And in that realization, a space opens up, a moment of possibility, a soft whisper that says, if you shift your gaze inward, if you change what you're focusing on, you can change the quality of what life reflects. This is not about denying pain or avoiding struggle. It's about taking back the steering wheel of perception, because the world isn't just happening to you. It's being filtered, interpreted, and shaped by you. Every second, every breath, every belief you hold. So the real question is not whether life is fair or unfair, but whether you are observing through a lens that honors your power or denies it. The mirror holds no opinion. It only responds. And once you understand that, everything changes. You're no longer chasing the world for validation. You're choosing how to show up and letting reality mirror that back. Now the only thing left to explore is how the brain actually filters what you see and experience. Because the lens isn't just metaphorical, it's biological. And in the next segment, we'll uncover the secret system inside your mind that determines what you notice, what you miss, and how you unconsciously call your reality into focus. If reality is a mirror, then what exactly is it reflecting? It is not just your conscious thoughts or fleeting desires. It is reflecting your focus, your emotion, your belief systems, the deep internal frequencies that color your perception and silently guide what you notice, what you expect, and what you magnetize. Imagine this. Your emotion is the filter, your focus is the lens, and your belief is the code running quietly in the background. These three elements create your version of the world, and they determine not only what you see, but how you feel about what you see. A person who has been conditioned to believe they are unworthy will unconsciously scan their environment for validation of that belief. Every rejection feels personal. Every silence becomes proof. Not because the world is actually rejecting them, but because the lens they're wearing makes it appear that way. This is not imagination. This is neurology. The human brain is designed to confirm what you believe. It's not seeking truth. It's seeking consistency. This is why two people can go through the exact same experience, but live completely different. Internal stories. One person loses a job and sees it as proof they're a failure. Another loses the same job and sees it as the universe redirecting them toward purpose. Who's right? The answer is both. Because each person is living in a mirrored world of their own focus. This is how powerful you are. This is how intimate the relationship between your inner world and outer world really is. You're not reacting to reality. You're participating in its creation by what you choose to emphasize. The emotions you feed, the thoughts you dwell on, the stories you rehearse, all of it becomes data for the mirror to reflect. And it doesn't reflect what you want. It reflects what you are. Not what you pretend to be, but what you repeatedly believe and embody. This is why self-awareness is the true beginning of freedom. Because once you understand that you are not just a passenger in the vehicle of life, but the one gripping the steering wheel of focus, everything begins to change. Instead of asking why life keeps happening the same way, you begin asking what within you keeps tuning into that same channel. What belief keeps looping beneath the surface? What story is your mind trying to prove right again and again? And when you become curious, not judgmental, but gently curious, you begin to open a space for transformation. You no longer feel at the mercy of your reality. You begin to witness its plasticity, its responsiveness, its deep and subtle connection to your state of being. You are not just seeing the world. You are filtering it. You are labeling it. You are interpreting it through the atmosphere of your inner weather. And just as a foggy window distorts the landscape outside, a foggy belief system distorts the truth of what is. So if you want to change what appears outside, you begin not by forcing the external, but by shifting the internal settings of attention and emotion. The outer world bends to meet the tone you carry. The reflection follows the gaze. And the moment you accept this truth, you no longer beg reality to change. You begin changing your lens, which brings us to the next piece of the mirror mechanism, the reticular activating system, the hidden gatekeeper in your brain that decides what gets filtered in and what gets blocked out. And when you learn how to align this internal filter with new beliefs and elevated emotion, the reflection begins to shift before your eyes. You don't have to control the world around you to change your experience of it. You simply have to adjust the lens through which you see it. Most people spend their lives trying to rearrange the external picture, hoping that once the outside looks better, they will feel better inside. But the mirror of reality doesn't work like that. It doesn't shift first, you do. The outside does not calm until the inside does. The picture does not brighten until the lens is cleared. And what if the struggle you thought was out there was actually inside the way you were looking all along? What if it was never the situation that kept you stuck, but the story you were telling about it? The labels, the judgments, the assumptions, the invisible filter you didn't even know you were wearing. This is the essence of true power. To realize that nothing has to change in order for everything to feel different. That one shift in perception can unravel years of confusion. That one new angle can reveal a pathway where you once saw a wall. Reality begins to bend the moment your awareness expands. Not because the world has changed, but because the world is responding to the new version of you who is looking at it. Think of the lens as a frequency dial. When you shift it slightly, what you tune into begins to change. You start noticing different people, different patterns, different opportunities, not because they weren't there before, but because your focus was tuned to something else. What you see is filtered by what you believe. What you notice is magnetized by what you expect. And what you feel is amplified by the stories you keep telling in your mind. If you've ever looked back at a memory and seen it differently years later, you've already experienced the truth of this. The event didn't change, but the meaning did, because you changed. And the same is true for your present moment. It's not the circumstances that keep you in the same loop. It's the perspective, the lens. You're not trapped in your reality. You're trapped in your perception of it. And the good news is that perception is the one thing fully in your hands. You can shift it. You can choose again. You can remove the filter that says, I'm not good enough. Life is hard. Nothing works out. And start asking deeper questions. What else could this mean? What else might be possible? What is this moment really asking me to see? The lens doesn't just shape what you look at. It shapes who you become in relation to it. So the moment you clean the lens, the moment you widen the frame, the entire movie starts to change. You meet new versions of people. You attract elevated outcomes. You release old roles you didn't even know you were still playing. Because now the observer is aware, and that awareness is the invitation for life to reflect something new. There is no force more magnetic than a shift in perception, because it changes your vibration, and vibration is what life responds to. Every time you choose curiosity over assumption, every time you soften a harsh judgment, every time you pause before labeling something as bad or wrong, you are adjusting the lens. And every lens shift opens a new portal, a new parallel, a new possible version of now. So if you've ever felt stuck, maybe it's not the world that's frozen. Maybe it's the perspective that has calcified. And the moment you shift it, everything moves again. Remember this. You are not stuck in reality. You are stuck in a way of seeing. Change the lens, and the entire picture shifts. And as we step into the next part, we go deeper into this unseen mechanism of perception. How does your brain actually decide what to show you and what to filter out? In the next part, we'll uncover the hidden gatekeeper of your awareness, the filter that silently chooses your version of reality every single day. Your brain is not showing you the world as it is. It's showing you the world as you've been taught to see it. And at the center of this filtering mechanism is something called the Reticular Activating System, or RAS. It's a small network of neurons in your brainstem with a massive responsibility to regulate your consciousness and decide what you pay attention to. Think of it like a search engine inside your brain. When you type a word into Google, it brings up all the results connected to that word. It doesn't show you the entire internet. It shows you what matches your query. Your RAS works the same way. If deep down you believe you're unworthy, your RAS filters the entire external world to deliver you proof of that belief. If you believe people don't respect you, it will highlight every glance, every word, every situation that seems to reinforce that. Not because it's the only thing happening, but because your internal programming told it to look for that. The RAS doesn't ask what's fair or true. It just follows orders based on your dominant beliefs, emotions, and expectations. This is why when you decide to buy a certain car, you suddenly start seeing that car everywhere. The cars were always there, but your RAS hadn't been instructed to prioritize them until now. The same is true for opportunity, love, success, or danger. Whatever you're emotionally invested in, your RAS will treat as important and will begin highlighting experiences, patterns, and perceptions that match it. You may think you're responding to reality, but in truth, you're responding to a curated version of reality based on the focus of your inner world. You see what you are tuned for. Let's go deeper. Imagine your brain receives billions of bits of information every second. It would be overwhelming to consciously process all of that. So your RAS acts like a gatekeeper. only allowing in the details that match your current mental filter. Your attention is the lens. Your beliefs are the programming. Your emotions are the fuel. And your reality is the mirror. When you constantly feel rejected, the RAS will keep pulling people, situations, and interpretations into your awareness that reflect that pain. If you feel abundant, the RAS will begin showing you possibilities, connections, and synchronicities that match that frequency. The outside world is responding to your inner focus far more than most people realize. Let's take a real-world example. Two people lose their jobs. One believes this proves they're a failure, so the RAS begins feeding that belief by showing all the reasons they were unworthy, all the people doing better, and all the imagined criticisms others might have. Second person sees the same event as a redirection. Their RAS starts pulling in alternative career paths, open doors, and creative ideas. The same event, two lenses, two completely different versions of reality. This is not about toxic positivity or pretending everything is great. It's about understanding that what you tune into is what you amplify. Your brain does not present a neutral world. It presents a filtered one. And the filter is programmable. If you want your life to start showing you new outcomes, you don't need to force your way through life. You need to update the search bar. Instead of, why am I always stuck? Try, what might this moment be teaching me? Instead of, I can't handle this, try, how is this preparing me for what's next? The shift doesn't begin by changing the world. It begins by changing what you're asking your mind to look for. Because your RAS listens, your focus becomes its command, and it begins building a version of the world to match. This isn't magic. This is neuroscience. The stories you tell yourself instruct your biology to look for reinforcement. This is how perception becomes reality. When you feel like life is stuck in a loop, it may not be life that's stuck. It may be your perception. And the beautiful truth is this: perception can be reprogrammed. You are not doomed to see the world through old patterns. You can choose a new lens, a new focus. And the moment you do, your RAS will begin showing you evidence of that new truth. Slowly, subtly, steadily, it will reshape your version of reality. This is not theory. It is how your biology was designed to function. And when you know how to use it, you stop waiting for the world to change. You realize you've had the power all along. Your attention is a sacred tool. What you feed, it becomes your life. Use it wisely, because what you focus on doesn't just expand. It becomes the world you wake up in tomorrow. And in the next segment, we'll explore how your subconscious beliefs are the source code behind your RAS and how to start rewriting it, your reticular. Activating system is not a truth detector. It is a pattern seeker. It does not prioritize facts. It prioritizes familiarity. If a belief has been repeated in your mind long enough, even if it is limiting or painful, your RAS will begin to treat it as the filter through which all reality must be seen. This means your brain is not giving you a full picture of the world. It is giving you a curated experience that supports what you already believe to be true. If you hold the belief that you are not good enough, your RAS will start highlighting every conversation, every facial expression, and every missed opportunity that reinforces that belief. Even if someone compliments you, your brain may discard it, label it as insincere, or forget it entirely. Not because it was untrue, but because it did not match your internal programming. Your RAS is not loyal to your potential. It is loyal to your patterns. This is why two people can walk into the same room and experience two completely different realities. One person sees rejection. The other sees opportunity. One person sees threat. The other sees growth. Not because the environment was different, but because their beliefs were different. If you believe people don't like you, Your RAS will guide you to perceive neutral expressions as negative, to interpret silence as judgment, and to replay memories of moments where you felt ignored. Meanwhile, someone else with the belief that they are appreciated will enter the same situation and experience warmth, openness, and connection. The world hasn't changed. The filter has. And that filter is built on the foundation of your dominant thoughts and beliefs. The more emotionally charged the belief, the stronger its influence over what your IRAS chooses to show you. This is how bias becomes biology. The danger is not in having beliefs. The danger is in forgetting that your beliefs are not absolute truths. They are conditioned lenses. And every lens limits what you can see. When you believe life is hard and people are untrustworthy, your brain will obligingly provide you with evidence to prove that point. When you shift the belief to life supports me, and there is good in people, the RAS begins to tune your awareness toward moments, people, and signs that support that new narrative. But the old patterns will resist, not because they are true, but because they are familiar. And your brain often confuses familiar with safe. So how do you change what your RAS is filtering for? You change the input. You start by observing the beliefs that are running in the background of your mind. You become curious about the stories you are repeating. You ask yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is it expanding me or limiting me? You do not need to argue with the old belief. You simply introduce a new one and feed it with repetition, emotion, and attention. Over time, your RAS will begin to shift its allegiance. It will begin to tune into a different frequency. The world around you will start to look different. Not because the world changed overnight, but because the internal filter stopped blocking out what was always there. This is why people who begin personal growth often say it feels like they are waking up. They are not waking up to a new world. They are waking up to a world that was always waiting behind the veil of old programming. When you begin telling a new story internally, your external world starts reflecting a new script. Your confidence builds. Your connections shift. Opportunities arise that you never noticed before. And none of this is random. It is the predictable result of shifting the input your RAS is filtering for. So remember this truth. You are not living in an objective reality. You are living in a version of reality curated by a filter that is loyal to your past beliefs. But that filter can be rewritten. You are not powerless. You are programmable. And the moment you become aware of that programming is the moment you begin the process of liberation. It doesn't take a complete overhaul. It begins with one new thought, one new lens, one new decision to stop feeding the old pattern and start feeding a vision that aligns with who you truly are. And in the next part, we'll explore how your emotional frequency determines the quality of the reality you step into. Because your focus builds the frame, but your frequency colors the entire scene. Where your focus goes, your frequency follows, and that frequency becomes the hidden architect of your reality. Every thought you return to, every feeling you feed, every idea you rehearse in silence is not passive. It's powerful. Attention is not neutral. It's an energetic amplifier. The moment you give your focus to something, you plug it into your field, and like a wire carrying electricity, your consciousness begins to energize that signal. You may think you're simply observing a problem, but by repeatedly focusing on it, you are unconsciously sustaining its vibration. Worry, fear, and frustration are not just mental states, they are magnetic fields. They lower your frequency, constrict your perception, and invite matching experiences into your life. This isn't spiritual fluff, it's energetic physics. The human energy field, much like a radio transmitter, broadcasts the signals of your dominant focus, and the universe reflects that frequency through situations, people, and outcomes that match your internal resonance. But here's the gift in all of this. The moment you become aware of where your attention is flowing, you gain the ability to redirect it. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the creator of emotional gravity. If your inner dialogue revolves around lack, rejection, or fear, your emotional body vibrates in a lower bandwidth, and your outer life echoes that vibration back to you. But the moment you turn your awareness toward gratitude, presence, possibility, and peace, something begins to shift. Your field softens. Your vibration rises. Your perception widens. This shift doesn't require you to pretend everything is perfect. It simply asks you to stop feeding what drains you and begin nourishing what expands you. Just like a fire, only continues if it's fed. The energies in your life that seem overwhelming are often the ones you're unconsciously fueling through repeated focus. Imagine each thought as a seed. Some grow thorns, some bloom into light. Which ones are you watering? Daily, when you realize your attention is creative energy, you stop giving it away to anything unworthy of your future. And from that awareness, a subtle but profound power returns to you. You are no longer reacting. You are activating. You are choosing what kind of energy lives in your body and what kind of signal you radiate into the field. Even in moments of discomfort, you can pause and shift your gaze, even slightly, toward a thought that empowers rather than depletes. That small decision compounds over time. Like tuning a radio to a different station, your signal changes and so does what comes through the speaker of your life. This is not just mindset, it's energetic mastery. And it begins not by trying to fix the world, but by mastering the direction of your gaze. Because what you repeatedly look at, you energize. And what you energize, you magnetize. And what you magnetize, you experience. In the next segment, we'll explore how this frequency you carry isn't just abstract energy. It's the very shape of your emotional vibration. And it's already programming the lens through which you see your life. When you begin to understand that focus is more than attention, that it is a transmission of your entire energetic signature, you unlock the secret language of reality. Your thoughts are electric signals, and your emotions are magnetic fields. And together, they form a vibrational broadcast that speaks to the fabric of your world. This frequency isn't random. It's a result of what you choose to return to, again and again. Every time you dwell on a thought, especially one wrapped in strong emotion, you are sending out a coherent wave, and that wave begins to attract experiences, people, and patterns that harmonize with its signal. The person who constantly focuses on how life is unfair, how they are not enough, how others always betray them, will inevitably find themselves surrounded by situations that mirror those very beliefs. Not because the world is cruel, but because the energetic radio they are tuned to only play songs of lack, fear, and resistance. On the other hand, the individual who trains their focus toward solutions, toward lessons instead of losses, toward the subtle beauty within difficulty, begins to experience a different rhythm of reality. It's not that problems vanish, but the emotional charge around them transforms. And from that higher frequency, new insights and aligned opportunities emerge that would have been invisible in a lower state. Think of your vibration as the climate of your life. Focused fear creates emotional winter cold, slow, and constricted. But focused gratitude or curiosity brings the spring growth, opening, and gentle movement forward. You are not a passive observer of life. You are a vibrational being constantly interacting with your environment through unseen frequencies. And every time you choose where to focus, you are shaping what unfolds. This is why someone who practices emotional self-awareness can stand in the same situation as another and experience it entirely differently. Where one sees failure, the other sees refinement. Where one sees rejection, the other sees redirection. It's not that one is naive, it's that their internal signal is different, and the universe must respond accordingly. This isn't about toxic positivity or denying real feelings. It's about choosing which emotions you want to dwell in and amplify, because your emotional baseline determines your signal, and your signal calls your experiences home. Begin noticing where your focus tends to settle. Do you constantly revisit what's missing? What's wrong? What could go wrong? Or do you train your eyes to notice even the smallest sign of alignment, the quiet whisper of progress, the subtle pull toward possibility? What you highlight becomes highlighted, and in time, what you energize becomes the atmosphere you breathe in. The great shift begins not when life gets easier, but when you become aware that your focus is frequency, and that frequency is your creative power. In the next segment, we'll explore how to turn this awareness into a daily practice, so that, instead of unconsciously reacting to life, you begin consciously designing it, one intentional focus at a time. Now that you understand your focus is shaping your frequency, and your frequency is quietly scripting your reality, the next question becomes simple but powerful. What exactly are you feeding with your attention each day? Take a breath, slow down, and for just 1 minute, bring your awareness inward. Without judgment, observe the thoughts that visit you most often. Are they thoughts of possibility or limitation? Are they rooted in expansion or contraction? Ask yourself, what am I mentally revisiting on a loop, even when I'm not aware of it? This is your energetic diet. And just like the food you consume shapes your body, the thoughts you consume shape your vibration. Begin a simple audit. Write it down if you can. Jot the top 3 thoughts or emotional themes you've been dwelling on this week. It might be about a relationship, your career, your sense of self, or something subtle like a constant background feeling of unease or urgency. Then ask the second question. How do these thoughts make me feel? Are they energizing me or draining me? Are they building the future I want to live in or reinforcing the past I'm trying to release? What you discover may surprise you, because most of our focus is unconscious, operating in the background like an unseen script running the show. But the moment you observe it, you reclaim the pen. You remember that you are not the thought. You are the one who can choose to feed it or to redirect it. This is not about erasing thoughts or forcing yourself to always think positively. It's about presence. It's about reclaiming even 1% more awareness each day. That 1% repeated begins to shift your inner climate. One moment of pausing to choose a different thought. One decision to place your attention on something that opens your heart rather than tightens it. One simple choice to stop replaying the worst-case scenario and instead breathe into possibility. This is how energy begins to flow differently, not through grand gestures, but through micro shifts that compound. You don't have to change your entire reality overnight. You just need to change the lens through which you see it. And that begins with what you allow to stay in your mental field. Focus is a subtle form of nourishment. And if you keep feeding fear, fear grows. But if you feed faith or clarity or appreciation, those states begin to blossom too. In the quiet audit of attention, you'll find the roadmap to your vibration. And your vibration, over time, sets the tone for what you attract, how you feel, and what you become. So pause right now and gently reflect. What have I been energizing? And is it aligned with the life I want to call in? Because you don't just manifest through desire, you manifest through attention. And where attention rests, your life takes root. But if you want to truly shift your lens, you need to learn how to reframe what you're seeing. In the next part, we'll explore how to rewrite the story with a higher frequency focus. Your beliefs are not just passing thoughts. They are energetic frames through which you interpret everything you see, hear, and experience. Think of them as invisible lenses always on, always shaping your reality, even when you're not aware of it. When you hold a belief like, I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve love, that belief doesn't sit passively in the background. It becomes the filter that distorts every moment, every conversation, and every opportunity. Even when someone compliments you, if your core belief is rooted in unworthiness, your mind will reject it, question it, or assume it's not sincere. You won't receive it as truth, because your internal frequency cannot recognize it as safe or familiar. This is how your beliefs shape not only what you notice, but how you interpret it. You could be surrounded by love and still feel alone if your lens is tinted with abandonment. You could have talent and still feel like a fraud if you're subconscious. Belief says you don't belong. And here's the truth most people never stop to consider. Those beliefs you're carrying were likely never chosen consciously. They were downloaded from childhood moments when you felt overlooked, from a parent who projected their wounds onto you, from a school system that measured your worth in grades, from a society that told you who you were allowed to be. And over time, repetition made them feel like facts. But beliefs are not facts. They're practiced frequencies. They are mental emotional loops that your nervous system accepted as familiar. And what is familiar feels safe, even if it limits you. This is why the brain resists new perspectives. Not because they're wrong, but because they feel unfamiliar. And here's the most powerful shift. When you begin to observe these beliefs as patterns instead of identities, you reclaim your ability to reframe them. You're no longer inside the lens, you're holding it. You're no longer being shaped by the story, you're recognizing it as a script that can be rewritten. You don't have to force yourself to believe something new right away. You only need to question the old. Start by asking yourself, is this thought helping me expand or keeping me small? Did I choose this belief or did I inherit it? These simple questions begin to interrupt the trance, because the moment you question a belief, it loses some of its grip. You create space between who you are and what you've been programmed to repeat. And from that space, a new frequency becomes available. Remember this, if your beliefs were never questioned, they are still running the show. And until you become aware of the frames you're looking through, you'll keep calling the same patterns reality. But it's not the truth you're seeing. It's the echo of what you believe. And once you see that, you're no longer just a character in the story. You become the author holding the pen. And that's where transformation truly begins. Just because you desire something doesn't mean you're in alignment with it. This is the silent frustration so many face. You can want love, success, freedom, peace, but if deep down your beliefs say you're unworthy, unsafe, or not ready, your internal vibration will push away the very thing you seek. Alignment isn't about wishing harder. It's about matching the frequency of what you're calling in. Picture a radio. You want to hear station 98.5 FM, but your dial is set to 88.3. You twist the knob, hoping the music will play, but all you get is static. Not because the song doesn't exist, not because it isn't playing somewhere, but because you're not tuned to it. That's how manifestation works. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are resonating with. And your resonance is set by your beliefs, not your desires. This is why awareness is the key. Because once you can see the belief that's blocking the signal, you can start to shift it. You don't need to instantly force yourself to believe a perfect new thought. You only need to gently interrupt the old one. Begin with something simple. Write down 3 thoughts you often have about yourself. Look at them not as facts, but as frequencies. Then ask, is this thought absolutely true, or is it just familiar? That single question opens a crack of light. That small pause introduces space between you and the pattern. And in that space, your alignment can shift. Because alignment is not about perfection. It's about honesty. It's about noticing when your internal programming is out of sync with your vision and choosing to realign again and again with compassion. You can want a deeply loving relationship, but if your nervous system still associates love with pain, you'll sabotage intimacy without even realizing it. You can want financial abundance, but if your subconscious believes wealth equals guilt or rejection, you'll unconsciously block opportunity. It's not about shame, it's about curiosity. If the outer result doesn't match the inner vision, it's not a personal failure, it's a frequency mismatch. And frequencies can be retuned. The more you become aware of your inner narrative, the more you can shift it, not by force, but through observation. Your belief is not your identity. It's a lens that's been playing on repeat. And once you notice the pattern, you're no longer trapped inside it. You are watching it. And the watcher is already vibrating higher than the belief itself. Remember this. You don't need to fake confidence or pretend to be something you're not. You only need to step out of the trance of limitation, even for a moment. And in that moment, your energy changes. You start broadcasting a new signal. And reality, being the mirror it is, will reflect that shift back to you. Not immediately, not always obviously, but inevitably. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are aligned with. Shift the belief, and the frequency follows. Your thoughts are not harmless background noise. They are vibrational instructions, constantly sent out into the quantum field, informing your body, your emotions, and your experience of what frequency to tune into. Every internal sentence you repeat, every inner label you cling to, becomes a command that calibrates your reality. When you think or say, even silently, I always mess things up, you are not just describing a feeling. You are broadcasting a frequency, and your nervous system, your energetic field, and your outer world begin to harmonize with that declaration. You feel small, you see fewer options, and you subtly magnetize more experiences that validate that exact belief. But what if that same sentence could be transformed into a signal of expansion rather than contraction? Imagine instead of, I always mess things up, you say, I'm still learning, and this moment is part of my growth. In that instant, the energy shifts. You are no longer looping in shame. You're moving in alignment with self-awareness and self-trust. This is not toxic positivity. This is conscious energetic recalibration. You are not denying your feeling. You are redirecting the interpretation in a way that opens space rather than closes it. Most people think that changing your life means changing something external, but in truth, the deepest rewiring begins with the subtle internal statements you allow to take root in your mind. Those repeated phrases, spoken beneath the surface, act like code, and like any code, they can be rewritten. You might believe that one thought can't make a difference, but thoughts create emotions. Emotions generate vibration, and vibration determines your field of resonance. In other words, what you think becomes how you feel, and how you feel becomes the doorway to what you attract. You can't expect a life of peace and clarity if your inner narrative is one of lack and limitation. So the work begins not by fixing the world, but by shifting the dialogue you have with yourself. And it can begin gently, one phrase at a time, one thought at a time. For example, instead of thinking I failed, try I'm recalibrating. Instead of I'm stuck, try I'm pausing to realign. These are not lies. They are truths you've simply never chosen to give power to. When you engage with life from this reframed lens, your energy no longer collapses inward. It expands outward. Your field becomes more coherent, and your awareness starts to pick up on options, support, and insight that were always there, but previously filtered out by the weight of old inner language. The shift is subtle, but powerful, because frequency doesn't change through force. It changes through alignment, and alignment is a result of perception. Perception is built by the words you silently rehearse. When you change the phrase, you, Change the lens. When you change the lens, you change the vibration. And when you change the vibration, you change the frequency your entire life responds to. This is the power of rewriting your inner language. It's not about perfection. It's about precision. It's not about denying the emotion. It's about anchoring the emotion in a new frame. From this point forward, what if you treated every self-judgment as a doorway to reframe? What if every thought was a chance to broadcast a new frequency? You're not just thinking, you're casting. You're not just reflecting, you're creating. And with one sentence spoken from awareness, your entire energetic field begins to shift. In the next segment, we'll take this even further. You'll learn how to turn this into a practical, daily practice using a simple journaling format that helps you catch reactive thoughts and alchemize them into aligned perspectives that upgrade not just your mood, but your vibration. So how do you actually shift your inner language and anchor a new frequency into your daily life? You begin with a simple yet powerful tool, the Observation Reframe Journal. This practice is not about long essays or perfect grammar. It's about catching the subtle thoughts that shape your emotional tone and rewriting them with clarity and compassion. At the end of each day, take just 5 quiet minutes. Choose one moment from the day that triggered a negative reaction. It could be small or significant. It might be a conversation that left you frustrated or a quiet moment when you felt not good enough. On one side of the page, write down exactly what you said to yourself in that moment. The unfiltered inner dialogue. This is the reactive version. For example, I messed everything up again, or I looked so foolish, or I'm falling behind. This is not to judge the thought, but to see it clearly. Then, in the second column, gently reframe that thought. This is where the magic happens. Ask yourself, if I were speaking from my highest alignment, how would I choose to see this? What is a more expansive perspective that still honors what I felt, but lifts the frequency? So the original sentence, I messed everything up again, becomes I'm learning through this, and it's helping me refine who I am. Or, I looked so foolish, becomes I was brave enough to show up, and I'm growing from the discomfort. You're not forcing yourself to feel differently. You're guiding the emotion into a frame that leads to evolution rather than shame. And here's the key. You don't need a full journal page. Just 3 lines a day. 3 reactive thoughts reframed with intention. That's it. And if you do this for 21 days, you will start to notice something extraordinary. Your inner voice becomes kinder. Your nervous system becomes less reactive. Your perception of your past begins to soften. And your frequency, your emotional baseline, begins to lift. The old thoughts may still arise. That's normal. But instead of running on autopilot, you now meet them with awareness and respond from alignment. The practice is not about fixing yourself. It's about remembering your inner authority. You are the one who assigns meaning to events. And when you change the meaning, you change the emotional imprint. When you change the imprint, you change your vibration. And over time, the vibration becomes your new magnetic signature. The world around you begins to respond differently. People interact with you in new ways. Opportunities feel more fluid. Solutions seem to appear without force. Because you're no longer reinforcing the old narrative. You're broadcasting from a higher space. And it all begins with 3 conscious lines a night. Imagine if your journal became a sacred space where you alchemize your day, transmute old reactions, and anchor your next level self. You don't have to wait for clarity. You don't have to chase alignment. You simply create space for it to land through intentional reflection. 1 page, 2 columns, 3 lines. Over time, this becomes more than a technique. It becomes a lifestyle of observation, ownership, and energetic refinement. Emotions will still come. But now, instead of being pulled by them, you meet them with presence and rewrite the script. You see, the goal is not to feel good all the time. The goal is to feel with awareness, so you can guide your frequency rather than be ruled by it. And that's how transformation becomes sustainable. In the next segment, we'll take this practice even deeper. You'll learn how to integrate a simple 3-second pause that rewires your response in real time. Because when you learn to pause, before the reaction, you shift not only your frequency, but your future. So what begins as a simple act of journaling becomes something far more profound. When you rewrite even one sentence a night from a higher state of consciousness, you're not just managing thoughts. You're reprogramming the filter of your mind, reshaping the landscape of your nervous system, and redirecting your entire energy field. Each reframe you write is like adjusting the dial on an inner radio. Instead of broadcasting static from old pain, confusion, or self-judgment, you start to transmit clarity, self-trust, and resonance. What seems like a small shift on the surface is actually a quantum ripple that moves through every layer of your being, because the words you use are not just expressions. They are frequencies. They send messages not only to your mind, but to your body, your heart, and the space around you. When you replace "I'm failing" with "I'm refining," you dissolve the heaviness and begin emitting possibility. When you replace "no one understands me" with "I am learning to express my truth more clearly," you step out of isolation and into empowerment. It's not about pretending. It's about perceiving with new eyes. And when your perception changes, so does your vibration. That new frequency becomes your new point of attraction. And without force, without pressure, your outer world begins to mirror the subtle adjustments you've made within. Your reticular activating system starts showing you more opportunities, more synchronicities, more aligned reflections, because you've shifted the input signal. Your emotions begin to stabilize, not because life is easier, but because your interpretation becomes more empowering, and your actions begin to flow from alignment instead of fear. This is why you don't need a perfect day. You don't need everything to go your way. You need a new lens for how you see the day. And that lens is built one reframe at a time. One page, one thought, one moment of choosing again. Over time, your journal becomes a mirror of your rising self. It documents your vibrational evolution. It reveals the patterns you've outgrown and the identities you've expanded into. It's a sacred space where old wounds are rewritten as new wisdom. And the ripple effect goes beyond words. Because the self who shows up tomorrow will be subtly different than the self who went to bed tonight. More aware, more intentional, more in tune with the frequency you choose to live in. That's the power of micro-alignment. And that's how transformation becomes sustainable. You don't need to leap. You just need to lean. You don't need to fix your whole life tonight. You just need to shift how you relate to this moment. One sentence, one breath, one perspective at a time. Let this practice be your quiet revolution. Let it be the nightly ritual that reclaims your narrative. Because no matter what the world says, your perception is yours to own. And when you change how you see, you change how you feel. And when you change how you feel, you change what you attract. From this space, the journal becomes more than paper and pen. It becomes a tuning device for your consciousness. It becomes a bridge between who you've been and who you're becoming. And now that you've learned how to shift perception through language and reflection, it's time to explore the next step. Because the journey doesn't end at observation. It deepens into embodiment. In the next part, we'll move from writing your truth to living it, from reframing the moment to becoming the frequency, from noticing who you were to embodying who you truly are. Reality is not something outside of you waiting to be fixed or figured out. It is a living mirror, constantly reflecting the vibration of your internal lens. The world is not static. It bends, molds, and rearranges itself in response to your perception. You are not a passive observer walking through a predetermined script. You are the one behind the lens, the source of the framing. Everything you experience, whether it's joy, frustration, delays, breakthroughs, or even silence, is not random. It's responding to the energetic focus you hold, whether you're conscious of it or not. Imagine for a moment that the world is not solid ground beneath your feet, but water responding to your gaze. When your attention shifts, it ripples. When your beliefs shift, the current changes. The emotions you carry are the wind behind the surface. You do not have to force the water to become still. You simply become still within, and the mirror begins to settle. This is the essence of conscious observation. The more you react, the more the mirror splashes and distorts. The more you observe, the more it clears, revealing what was always beneath the surface. You are not here to control reality. You are here to clarify your lens. When you change the lens, the reflection changes. Automatically, you don't need to manipulate circumstances to feel peace. You embody peace first, and circumstances will shift in ways you could never plan with logic. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you shift timelines. Each time you soften into gratitude instead of judgment, you align with a higher vibration. You're not escaping your emotions. You're rewriting their signal. You're not suppressing your pain. You're seeing it as information through a new filter. The mirror of life does not reflect what you demand. It reflects what you are resonating with. Your dominant emotional state becomes the ink with which your life is written. And the beauty is, it only takes one conscious breath to begin the rewrite. One shift in observation, even in the midst of chaos, begins to reshape the pattern. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present, because presence is power. When you choose awareness over reactivity, you tune into the frequency where miracles unfold. And that shift is subtle. It's quiet, it doesn't shout. It whispers through synchronicities, gentle nudges, unexpected clarity, and moments of inner calm. These are signs that the lens is changing. These are signs that the mirror is softening. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember reality doesn't shift because you force it. It shifts because you start seeing it differently. You don't change the world by conquering it. You change the world by choosing a new way of seeing. And the most revolutionary act is not to escape your current life, but to meet it with a higher level of consciousness. You are not stuck in your circumstances. You are only stuck in a way of looking. Change the lens, and the reflection will follow. You are not just observing the mirror of life. You are shaping it moment by moment with the lens you choose to see through. Every thought you reframe, every breath you take in awareness, every time you pause and choose again, you are painting on the canvas of your reality. This is not about escaping the life you're living. This is about remembering that you are the one creating it, sculpting it, breathing it into form with every vibration you emit. It's not about controlling outcomes. It's about aligning from within, knowing that the reflection is just the echo of your current state of being. You are not a victim of the world you see. You are the lens through which it appears. And that lens is not fixed. It's fluid, flexible, alive. With practice, with presence, with permission to evolve, you can shift it. And with every subtle shift in how you choose to interpret your world, the world begins to shift in return. One moment of stillness instead of spiraling, one observation instead of judgment, one conscious breath instead of a triggered reaction. These are not small things. These are massive energetic choices that ripple through timelines you cannot yet see. This work is not theoretical. It is not a mindset trick or a motivational slogan. This is a way of living. This is what it means to embody the higher frequency. It means walking through the same world as everyone else, but with an entirely different energetic posture. It means choosing to observe your fear rather than being run by it. It means meeting resistance with curiosity, not self-blame. It means remembering that you are not your thoughts, but the space in which those thoughts arise. And when you live from that space, you begin to activate a new level of magnetism. You become a transmitter of clarity in a noisy world. You become a signal of presence in a sea of reaction. And slowly, silently, powerfully, your outer life begins to mirror that shift. People respond to you differently. Circumstances reorganize. Patterns dissolve. You don't force this into being. You allow it. You practice it. You live into it. And most importantly, you return to it again and again when you forget. Because forgetting is part of the path. There's no shame in moments of slipping back. Each return is a deeper embodiment. Each awakening is more grounded. So if today you remembered, even for a few seconds, that you are not stuck, that you are not powerless, that you are not at the mercy of the world around you, that alone is enough to begin a quantum shift. You are not here to escape your reality. You are here to remember you're the one shaping it. You are here to choose the lens through which you observe, and by choosing, you are rewriting the reflection. You are not small for doing this inner work. You are courageous. You are pioneering a new way of living, one moment of conscious attention at a time. So take this awareness with you. Let it live in your breath, your conversations, your silence, your choices. Let it anchor you when the mirror feels distorted. Let it remind you that nothing outside you defines you. The lens is yours. The shift is yours. And the power has always been yours. If something in this video helped shift your perspective, even slightly, take a moment to anchor that. Click the like button to energetically affirm the alignment. Subscribe if you want to keep this vibration alive each week, because there is so much more to explore together. And drop a comment below, sharing your biggest realization, even if it feels small. You never know who might wake up because you voiced what they were silently feeling. And if this message resonated, share it with someone you care about. We're all shaping our world with our focus. Let's shape it consciously. Let's shape it together.